Okay, this is part 2 of the DJ Luke virtual consult series. In this video, we are going to go over the online planning form for DJ Luke. So this is the actual planning form that you would receive access to after booking with us. We ask that you have it completed by 2 weeks before the wedding date. There's no rush to get started on it. In fact, a lot of the times we ask that our couples don't start on it right away or try to complete it right away because things do change. You could go ahead and take a look at it, start thinking of some things. But we usually say about 2 to 3 months before the wedding to go ahead and fill this out, and then that's when things might trigger some questions that you might have for us that we can help out with. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the planning form, and I'll start discussing the information that we will be asking of you, and basically show you how simple this is to fill out. So this is the DJ Luke planning form. The first part here, pretty simple, contact information. You're just going to put in your wedding date, your names, email addresses, and phone numbers. Pretty simple. The next section is the venue information. This is where you're just putting the name of the venue, the address. If there is a particular contact person there, the person that you've been working with at the venue, we ask that you put their name, email, and phone number so that if we have any questions, if it's our first time at the venue, or maybe it's a venue that we work at all the time, and we know how to do things a little, differently or things like that, we might reach out to them. One question we definitely want you to answer: will there be a DJ table or will there be a table for the DJ equipment? We never take a table out in the field. 99% of the time when we show up to a venue to DJ, there is always a table. However, 1% of the time there is not. So we are always under the assumption that there's going to be a table. So basically, we want you to double check with your venue to make sure that there will be a table for the DJ. But if there's not going to be, that's when we need to know. Then we need to know that we need to pack a table. It's pretty rare, but we don't want to get out, show up, and there not be a table, and no one alerted us to that. The next question: will the DJ be providing cocktail hour music in a room separate from the reception ballroom? Most of the time it's no. But if you do need DJ Luke to have if your cocktail is going to be in a separate room and you want us to set up a speaker system in that separate room, then you would check yes. Then there's basically a reminder here that is an add-on. It does cost extra, as we went over in the add-on section of part 1 of the DJ Luke series. And it's kind of a reminder so that you're like, oh, I'm looking at the contract and we didn't add that on, but we want it, so I'm going to need to reach out to FineLine and contact Fred and make sure it's not too late to add that on. So that's kind of a reminder in that case. And then if we are doing that, you're just letting us know which room that cocktail system is going in. The next section basically gets into time, and the main thing here is to make sure that the amount of time that you booked us for matches what you're asking us to do. So our DJ packages are 5 hours. So if you're contracting us for DJ, you're contracting 5 hours unless when you do the initial contract you knew ahead of time you needed more, and maybe you already booked more than the 5 hours. So typically you would put down, okay, I booked the DJ for 5 hours. And we'll go through a couple scenarios here. Let's say that our guests are showing up at 5 o'clock. That's when we need the DJ to start at 5 o'clock. And we're going till 11 p.m. at night. So now you see right here, you're saying that you need the DJ for 6 hours, but you only booked 5. So this is a reminder here. Basically, if you're putting down that you need more hours than you booked, don't wait till the week of the wedding for us to discover this. Contact us right away so we can make sure that we can add that on and have that taken care of. Another scenario might be where you booked us for 5 and you're thinking, okay, I only need the DJ from 5 to 10, but in that space, the guests are going to start entering the space at 4 o'clock. That's a no-no because the DJ service basically begins when guests arrive. So if you're saying guests are arriving at 4 o'clock, we can't still be trying to load stuff through the door and set up as the guests are coming through, and we can't be doing sound checks and rehearsal of introductions and things like that while the guests are already in the room. So that's something that we try to get the couples to. If they're telling us that the guests are going to be there before they need us to begin, then technically they need us to start at 4 and add another hour in that scenario. Event timeline. So this basically is the rundown of what you're planning to do for the evening. Some couples get carried away and tell us the time of their whole day. We do not need to know 8 a.m. that you are planning to wake up. No, 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 no. This is for your reception. So this would be something like, we'll go here and do an example. 5 o'clock, guests arrive. So that's your cocktail hour begins. Okay, so let's say the plan is then at 6 o'clock. We're going to do introductions of the bridal party, We usually allot about 10 minutes for that. 6:10, we're going to go and, cut the cake. Then 6:15, we're going to sit down and basically get into toast. Leave about 10 minutes or so for the toast. 6:25, we're going to do the blessing. And 6:30, we're going to do dinner. Now, of course, obviously, we don't expect the blessing to last 5 minutes, but we always do things in increments of 5 minutes. Don't try to do like 6:25 to 6:20 and then 6:26 dinner begins. Just do everything in a minimum of 5-minute increments at a minimum. Usually allow at least an hour for dinner. So 7:30, we'll say we're going to get started with the first dance. 7:35, father-daughter. 7:40, maybe we're going to do the mother-son. Now 7:45, we're going to open up the dance floor. So we're going to say that this is the first open set. About 45 minutes later, so at 8:30, maybe we're going to do a anniversary dance. Go right into, bouquet, garter. 8:50, maybe we'll do the dollar money dance. And then 9:20, that'll be done. We'll get back into open dance. And then basically 10 o'clock, reception ends. Something like that. Now, what I always tell couples here, do your best. On the back end of our client planning area, we do have basically an article that I put together that gives you basically some templates that you can look at, that you can almost even just copy and paste. But it gives you an idea of how to put together a timeline. There's some helpful hints. There's some do's and don'ts on doing a timeline. But what I want to tell every couple is, don't feel like whatever you put here is that we're just going to blindly do. Every once in a while, I'll have a couple put together, let's just say a bad, sloppy timeline that if we were to do that would just be a really rough evening and nothing would really flow very well. We're not just going to blindly do that. So before the wedding, if a planning form comes in and we see the timeline and we think that some things need to be fixed up, I'll let you know and I'll offer suggestions, on what we need to do to kind of fix it up a little bit. So don't be stressed out about this, but what I want to do is I want to work from I want to see your initial idea, and most of the time our couples get this right the first time. So pretty easy, but don't worry, don't stress yourself out. Now, music requests. So this would be for the open dance. This is not the event, but this is open dance. So we break it down into 3 sections: must play, do not play, and play if possible. We limit the must play to 5 songs. And basically what the must play is, you're saying DJ Luke has to play this song. Regardless of anything, this song has to get played that night. So that's what a must play is. A do not play is basically the exact opposite. You might say, Macarena. And you don't want the Macarena to get played. And then he'll know that. He won't plan to play it. And then even if a guest kind of comes up and requests it, he'll kind of say, okay, we have a lot to get through. I don't think I can make it, but, we'll see. Kind of basically that's his polite way of saying no, so he doesn't rat you out and say, oh, the bride and groom hate that song. I can't play that. Play if possible. Basically, play if possible are all the other songs that you like that you are suggesting to the DJ. Luke usually plays most, if not all. If he sees one in there that he doesn't think is going to fit that crowd for the night or whatever, that's okay. But basically, the play if possible is saying that he'll try to play most of them. If there's a few songs in there he doesn't get to, then it's not the end of the world. Okay. Now, the other thing I tell couples is, I get some couples that when we get the planning form, all 3 of these are just left blank, where they're basically communicating, we have no idea what we're doing, we trust the DJ to basically take care of figuring out the music, whatever, we trust his instincts to know what songs to play. Totally fine. I'll get some couples that, maybe give us 1 or 2 must plays, maybe 1 or 2 do not plays, and, maybe a play if possible or 2. So that's fine too. That gives us a little bit of, a little bit of information. That's totally fine. Do not feel like you have to fill these all out. In fact, at the end of the day, the more flexibility you give the DJ, the better, to be quite honest. But again, this is also to be stress-free. You do not have to look at this like you have to come up with all the songs to play. This is basically your way to communicate if something is very important to you that you want to make sure is communicated to Luke. Then getting into cocktail and dinner. We make this, again, we try to make it super simple. Cocktail and dinner, at least like 2 hours of your evening. We don't want you to have to figure out 2 hours worth of songs. So what we do is we have 13 ready to go. Let me close that. We have 13 ready to go cocktail and dinner playlists. You can sample these. Again, I keep referring to the back-end client planning area of our website. You can sample these, see which songs are included. Some of them are instrumental, some of them are songs with singing. Basically what you're doing is saying, okay, I think for cocktail I want to set that mood, and dinner I want to set this mood. In between, we do ask here, is dinner going to be served at the tables or buffet style? That's just so that when we transition to dinner, Luke knows to make the appropriate comment, such as, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's dinner will be served buffet style, so please remain at your table until a member of the catering staff releases you to the buffet. And again, this is just a reminder here, you're basically, if the DJ is picking, or if we're doing cocktail music for you, of course, then you're going to choose the cocktail music. Again, moving along. Getting into introduction. So this is when we introduce the bridal party. So pretty simple stuff here, but the first question I want to go over to just clarify what this is. So, would you like to acknowledge any grandparents at their table prior to the bridal party intro? 99% of the time, almost exclusively every time really, we don't typically line the grandparents up and parade them through the ballroom with the parents and the bridal party. What we do by default, and that would be, the default is yes, is basically we allow the grandparents to remain seated at their tables in the reception ballroom, and DJ Luke would basically do something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, before we introduce our bridal party, we have some very special people already in the room with us this evening. Our grandmother, the bride, Sally Jenkins. You know, and then she can wave, everybody can applaud, but that's typically what we do. If you're checking no, you're saying that you want to line the grandparents up and have them, you know, coming in with the rest of the bridal party. Honestly, in the past 6 years, we've done this once, so it's extremely rare. Almost everybody does what we do by default. So, moving along. This is where you're letting us know, you know, who's going to be there. So this would be bride's grandparents 1, for example, would be on the mom or dad's side. So this might be Sally and Rich Jenkins. Let's say bride's grandparents 2, that maybe this is on dad's side. This is Marie and Bill Thompson, something like that, okay? And then this would be the groom's grandparents. Bride's parents, typically, you know, this would be Jane and Tom. Bride's parents, too, you would only be filling out, this would be if there's like a divorce and we have, you know, mom and dad being separate. Same thing with the groom's parents. Flower girl, maybe you have 2 flower girls. Ring bearer, maybe you have a second ring bearer, but this is where you're putting them. And then now down here is where you're getting into the actual bridal party. So group 1, we do this by group because we always typically bring in a bridesmaid and a groomsman together. So the first group would basically be the first couple coming in together. So this would be, you know, bridesmaid Missy and Thomas and Steve Montana. Okay, so let's say this is the first couple coming in together, and let's say you have 4 couples, so you're going to put them. Then you have your maid of honor and best man, and then underneath we ask, is it actually maid or matron, so that we know how to do that appropriately. We do have some couples that have more. It's kind of a little bit of a common thing, or you know, not so rare, but a common thing now, where every once in a while we have a couple that has more than 1 maid of honor, or maybe sometimes a maid and a matron, and then maybe 2 best men. So it's okay to have like best man here and another best man here. At the end of the day, we just want everything put in the order that they're going to come in. And then for the bride and groom, you guys are going to put down exactly how you want to come in. So this might be Mr. and Mrs. Steve and Samantha. And then I guess this was well, it wasn't the Tom, that was the bride's side. I don't know. Francis. Okay? So maybe it's Mr. and Mrs. Steve and Samantha Francis. You might just want to do Mr. and Mrs. Francis. However you guys want to get introduced, that's what you're putting down. And then lastly for the introductions, you're going to tell us what songs you want to come into. Now we usually do up to 3 songs. Some couples will do a song for the parents, a song for the bridal party, and then a 3rd song for the bride and groom. Some couples just do 1 song and let it play for the whole intro. Some do 2 songs. So maybe they'll do 1 song for the parents and bridal party, and then the bride and groom get their own song. Or they'll do 1 for the parents, and then song number 2 covers the bridal party and the bride and groom. That's typically one of those combinations that I just went over, is typically what we're doing. Speeches. First, we're asking about the speeches. So is anybody doing a welcome speech? Most of the time, no. Okay, but every once in a while, maybe 1 out of every 5 or 6 weddings that we do, sometimes the father of the bride wants to get up and welcome everybody. So this might be father of the bride And since I already made up his name, apparently it's Tom something. Tom something, okay? So father of the bride, Tom something, is going to do a welcome speech. Typically there are toasts, so usually it's maid of honor and then, you know, best man. And traditionally, just to point this out, traditionally the best man of the toast, the best man goes last. So just to kind of point that out, it's not set in stone that way. If you have a reason you want to do it some other way, but just to let most couples know that typically the best man is doing the last toast. And then usually after the toast is the blessing, if you're doing a blessing. And sometimes maybe the priest from the church came, so this might be Father Tom. Okay? Moving along, we just have a reminder here about the vendor meals. If you have the basic package, one meal, standard package, that's Luke plus his assistant, but it's a reminder that we're asking that you need to have a meal for your DJs. Now finally, this is where you get into the list of events. This is where you're choosing the specific songs for the specific events. So your first dance song is probably not going to be AC/DC Highway to Hell, but maybe it is. But anyways, so this is where you type in the exact song that you want for your first dance, and then we have all the other traditional events. Basically, you're putting yes or no if you're doing that event. So I'm sure, you know, doing father-daughter, mother-son, anything you're putting yes to, you got to put the name of the song in there. You know, most couples don't do a bridal party dance anymore, but it's still an option. I'm sure you're doing a cake cutting. Maybe you are or are not doing an anniversary dance, a bouquet toss, and so forth. Now, the 3 songs that we say that we definitely want you to pick out. First dance, father-daughter, mother-son. We're saying you have to choose those songs, okay? Because we don't want to pick, you know, songs that should have meaning for you in that regard. But for other things, other than these 3 things, for cake cutting, for example, if you're like, you know what, DJ can choose. If you'd rather just have the DJ choose, make this super easy on you, bouquet, I'm sure they know what to do. DJ can choose. You can put your own song, or you can put DJ can choose. Again, I keep bringing up the back end, the client planning form area. We actually have a pretty neat database. You know what? I'll take a minute here and show you what it looks like. So, So on our client planning area, we have this neat database here. You can click on different things. Like let's say it's cake cutting. You can click cake cutting. And right here is the top, I believe it's 50, top 50 most requested songs for cake cutting. And this is pretty much always updated nationwide. So right now the top cake cutting song is Maroon 5's Sugar. And then How Sweet It Is, Cake by the Ocean, Sugar Sugar, Pour Some Sugar on Me. Okay, but these are the top. So this is some food for thought. So maybe you're trying to think, you know, what mother-son dance songs are popular? What father-daughter or first dance, bouquet toss, things like that. Okay? So, let's see here. Moving on. So again, the rest of the events. Real quick, I'll go over the dollar money dance. Of course, we are in Western Pennsylvania. So we do ask specifically, are you doing the dollar dance? Let's just assume you are and then go through the rest. Will there be shots? Yes or no? Most of the time, yes. That's so DJ Luke knows to have the bar get the shots ready. Will someone be collecting money? If the answer is yes, let us know. So again, we can make sure DJ Luke has that person ready. Will guests be dancing with the bride only or bride and groom? If you're going straight traditional, bride only. What kind of music do you prefer? If you're going traditional, you're doing the traditional polka. If you're doing non-traditional, then maybe you're doing contemporary music. Then at the end, we ask the question, do you intend to have the guests circle the bride while the groom must capture her from the center? Yes or no? Again, if you're doing super traditional, the answer is yes. But a lot of people are doing no. It's about 50-50. Up to you. Depends how traditional you want to be. Then down here, optional, if you want to choose the final 2 songs of the night, you can, a final slow and a final upbeat. You don't have to. You can leave that blank. And then we do ask a few questions about your guests. Number of guests expected. Just give DJ Luke an idea of how many people are going to be there that evening. The largest age group, you might say, you know what, most of the, as far as age groups, the 40s, most people are in their 40s, and then after that, we have a lot of people, let's say, in their 50s. Something along those lines is what we're looking for. Again, just gives him an idea. If you are having us doing uplighting, this is where you would put in the color that you want for your uplighting. So if you want blue, that's where you would put it. Or if you want pink, that's where you're letting us know. And then finally down here, we just have some information, again, reminding you that if you have a huge room and the DJ is set up on one side and you still have a guest extending all the way to the other end of a long room, that maybe at this point you want to see if we still have wireless speakers available for your date to add that on. So none of that is hard. It's actually all pretty simple. It's a lot of yes/no questions, basic order of events, people, and some, you picking out some different songs that you want to hear and things like that. So that is the expectations, requirements that we have you fill out for the DJ Luke planning form. That applies to whether it's the basic or the standard package. And then, of course, before the wedding, I will be going over all that with you just to confirm everything for the DJ crew. So that is it for part 2 of the DJ Luke virtual consult video regarding the planning work that you'll be doing. So thanks for watching.